unfortunately erased
Thank you
all
for
my
complying
stuff.
with this voluntary subpoena.
Exactly. Well, that's the law. When you get a subpoena, you have to go.
Yes.
You would think.
Hi, everybody. This is Will Friedle,
Oh, hi.
superstar of many different things.
Slightly
Got
famous.
about 12 minutes. 10 minutes. 10
Really
minutes.
specific.
10 minutes.
So something you hear a lot from people who were in a really sort of iconic role early in their career is that they get a little typecast.
Sure.
Is animation a sort of new avenue that has allowed you to try some really different things out of character?
Yeah, I mean, that's the joy of animation is you always get to do something that you probably wouldn't get a chance to do live action. So, I mean, no one was ever going to cast me as Batman. So it's really cool to be able to do stuff like that. But yeah, you do. You can be a little typecast, but it's also just doing animated voices is such a joy that I don't care if I did the same role over and over and over again forever in animation. As long as I can continue to do it, I'd be happy.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where's the strangest place you've had to turn in your work for any of your voice acting gigs?
Strangest place I had to turn in my work?
The strangest place you had to do it.
Oh. Good question. You've had to. Hotel rooms are always you're in the middle of a hotel somewhere and you have to record on something quickly on your phone or something like that. So nowadays nothing seems weird because of COVID. Everybody's kind of recording at home, recording where they are, doing what they're doing. I'm doing a couple podcasts right now, and it's where you kind of record where you are. So we did an episode of Pod Meets World last week, and I was at home in my childhood bedroom. And I'm sitting there saying, like, I'm talking to my sitcom mates from my childhood bedroom talking about a show we did 30 years ago, like you do on a Tuesday.
That feels appropriate.
It was weird. It was just weird. That's writers on the Zoom going, is that a Dark Side of the Moon poster behind you? I'm like, yes it is, thank you. My room is still a shrine. Yeah, that's... But again, with recording, you kind of can do it anywhere, so nothing feels weird anymore. I did it in a car once. You're on your phone and you're kind of like in a garage. You're trying to get it as soundproof as possible, but it all seems normal in animation.
So, what surprised you most doing this podcast when you're talking to these other voiceover actors?
Well, one of the things that really did surprise me was the fact that so far nobody has said when I grew up I wanted to be a voiceover actor. They all want to be actors. They all want to be on stage, or they just knew they wanted to entertain. So I figured we'd meet, and I'm sure we will, meet somebody who said, no, I want to be a voiceover actor. That's all I ever wanted to be. But we haven't yet. Everybody wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and then found these voices, which then led them to the voiceover world, and then they said, oh, I don't ever want to do anything else. That surprised me. I figured we'd meet somebody who was like, oh yeah, no, that's all I ever wanted to do, but not yet.
Hi. Do you have a dream guest that you would like to invite onto your podcast?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, I don't know. Did you guys come to the show we just did? To the live show?
I did, yeah.
So we put up a pretty major announcement, which is awesome. So we're actually starting a nationwide search to find the next big voiceover actor, and iHeart is going to be doing with us, and the first major prize is you sign with my voiceover agency, CESD, for a year. So everybody was very excited about that. So that is going to allow us to bring on all of the guests we want to bring on, because we're going to have mentors for some of the contestants, and some old school directors are going to come on and direct them. So we're keeping a list of all the people we want, because of course, I know Kevin Conroy was one of our first guests ever. Eric Bauza was one of our first guests, but Mark Hamill would be amazing to have come on, and having worked with him on Batman, we could have a shot. Plus, I know how generous an actor he is, so the idea that an amateur actor will get the opportunity to take that next step is something that I know he'd be interested in doing. So there's tons of people. I mean, I would also love, just because I'm a mega nerd, one of the things I've always wanted to do with this podcast is bring back entire casts of shows that I loved growing up. So I want all of G.I. Joe from like 1986 to be together. I want Mask, I want He-Man, I want Transformers Gen 1. So if we can do all that kind of stuff. But my dream is really to find that next big star who gets flown out to LA and gets to live the life. And yeah, we're super excited about this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Very cool, thank you.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kevin Conroy, so...
He is a hack. and an unfortunate person to work with, if I'm honest.
Never again. So during the 2020 DC fandom, you guys did this hilarious mystery science theater type thing.
Yeah.
Where it was like Terry and Bruce reacting to like the Adam West Batman TV show.
It was so much fun.
Tell me about that, and tell me, can we please get more of that?
I hope so. I would love to. And that was during the pandemic. It was kind of like, we want to do this thing. We're going to, Batman had turned 80 not long ago. We're doing all this kind of stuff coming out. And I'm a huge MST fan. It's like my brothers raised me on MST. So when I knew it was going to be something along those lines, I was just absolutely flabbergasted. And to sit there and record it with Kevin in my head the whole time, like us on the Zoom thing, was awesome. So yes, and I hope we get to do more of them because it was just really fun. Yeah. The Adam West show was so good though. It is.
Like
You
when
just
you
look at it
said-
through different eyes, but it's so good.
Like when you said, is it wrong that I'm rooting for the Clam?
You do, yeah. Because it's like, what's up with his boots? Like he had the little boots on. Yeah, it was great.
When you guys started this podcast, were you hoping that eventually you'd be able to do a contest like this? Or?
This was the dream, but the infrastructure needed to actually conduct a contest of this size was just out of the realm of possibility for us. So when iHeart came on board and said, "Hey, we love your podcast. What do you want to do?" And we kind of went, "Here's the ultimate plan." They went, "Oh man, this is great." So they instantly added the "we'll fly out the guests." I mean, they have been incredible to work with and all in, and got it right away. You never want to. Pitching something to somebody is great, but when you find somebody who instantly gets it and then starts taking it to the next level, like, oh, what if we also do this, this, and this? That's when we knew instantly. We were like, oh, we're not talking that much on any of these conference calls. Like, they're now going, oh, it'd be amazing we brought this out. And so, the idea of lunch, for instance, where they said, no, we're going to fly them out. They're going to have lunch with the winners are going to have lunch with you and Christy, and that's where they're going to meet their voiceover agent. You're all going to sit down and pout. I mean, that was all iHeart kind of talking about that. And we're hoping, this is not definite, but we're hoping it's going to culminate in a big live show that's going to be done at the iHeart Theater. A giant cast of voiceover actors are going to be there to help judge and pick the next winner. And it's like welcoming a colleague into the fold. So then they get to sign their contracts. They're going to be brought to iHeart where they're going to have to record all the promos for I Hear Voices. They're going to be the voice of I Hear Voices and for a couple of the other big podcasts for a little while. So putting them to work right away. And they all have to be amateurs. It's like you can't be signed by somebody. You can't already have an agent. It's got to be, we're going to find the next amateur to come and take to the next level. So when you teamed up with somebody like iHeart, it was the only way to do it because just down to, hey, once we actually get the email addresses out there where you can send your submissions, we might get 50 submissions, we might get 50,000. So it's one of those things where we had to have that kind of in place before we could even mention this out loud. But yeah, from the start, we've only been doing this for 4 months. So from the start, this was kind of where we wanted to go, and we just knew that we weren't going to be able to right away. So we built it, and then it was like, oh my gosh, we have a chance to do this. So yeah, the next few months I think are going to be pretty crazy, but oh man, we can't wait. We honestly can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Is there any way that you think that you playing your character has changed over time?
Which character?
Or with Ron, everything with Kim Possible?
Has Ron changed?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ron was like So I haven't actually watched Kim Possible in a while, and then people are streaming shows now. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. I'm either on ABC, NBC, or CBS, so it's like there's more than 3. And so I was like, I'm gonna watch some Kim Possibles. And the first few episodes, I was like, oh man, he's totally different, because it was just me at the time. It was like just kind of my voice, and it was doing it. And then, like Eric Matthews on Boy Meets World, it starts one way and something completely different. And it's because a lot of times the writers write the character, and then they get to know you, and then they start writing for you. So that's pretty horrible when you think about where Eric went. That's when they were writing for me towards the end. It's like, they know I'm just a nut, and he went crazy. And it was kind of the same with Ron. They knew I wanted, and the voice got a little higher and a little more nuts, and then all of a sudden it was kind of my own spin. But I go back and I go, either I wished I started in the same register that I ended in, or I wish that I had kept it the same the entire way. But that being said, all characters progress, but actually kind of watching it is a little jarring for me. So it's like, I wish I had tweaked that at the beginning. But we're kind of finding ourselves and finding the character and kind of going from there. yeah, it's not as jarring as the change from Eric Matthews. You know, with Pod Meets World, we're watching the show again, so we're like 7 episodes in now, and I'm just waiting for that one where I go, there, that's where he's all of a sudden just a totally different character. We just haven't hit that yet, so we'll see.
At least he didn't disappear like his sister.
Who then came
Yes.
back as a different sister.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say disappear, which is even worse. As you know, a lot of people don't know that Richie Cunningham in Happy Days had an older
Chuck.
brother named
Yeah.
Chucky,
Yeah.
who took a basketball and went upstairs, and you never saw him again. And whenever my older brothers wanted to make fun of me, they'd always say, you know, they're about to Chucky Cunningham. And I'm like, what? Like, you can tell you're going to be Chucky Cunningham. Like, thank you for the support, my brothers. So yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, that's TV is. MASH is my favorite show of all time. I can quote it backwards, forwards, sideways, and it's the unbelievable inconsistencies in every sitcom where somebody has a brother and a sister, then they're an only child, then they're from Vermont, then they're from Maine, then they're from. It's like you kind of have to go, okay, like George in Seinfeld. The first few episodes talked about his brother. Never saw that guy. That never happened again. So it was always these kind of changes in everything that are going on, but. That's TV. You know, everybody tries to. Well, at least they did back in the day. Nobody allows anything to grow anymore. But when you were allowed to grow, everybody tried to find themselves and find their characters. What pairs up? Which partners worked and which ones didn't? And you know, if you would rewatch even the pilot of the first few episodes of something like Family Guy, you would never have looked at it and say, "Oh, it's going to be Stewie and Brian that are going to pair up and be the big thing." You never would have thought that, but they kind of found those personalities and they work together and they go from there. Like you never would have thought Eric and Feeney were going to work on Boy Meets World. Like you're not going to put those two characters together, but then it did and it just worked. So it kind of changes. That's what I love about TV. At least when it's allowed to grow, I love about TV. Now it's like, what? You did 2 episodes? It's bad. It's gone. But back in the day, it was allowed to grow and breathe and become its own thing, which was a lot of fun.
So, with voice actors, you kind of develop friendships through that recording the booths. I kept wondering.
Yeah.
That's funny. I think I didn't realize until a recent press jacket for DC Supergirls, like you recorded with John and Nicole Sullivan, and so it was kind of fun to reconnect. But you never recorded with Christy. I didn't realize.
No, Christy and I, when we did Kim Possible, she did like the first 2 or 3 episodes, then went to college because she wanted to get educated. And so she went to New York. And so I would record with Johnny and with Nicole, but she would usually phone patch in, and most of the times when we weren't even there. So I think we've talked about this a bunch of times. I think we ended up doing like 3 episodes together, something like that. 4 episodes where we actually recorded together. And the rest of the time she was in New York and I was in LA.
So, I'm curious, how did you guys, I guess, ended up develop this friendship without connecting?
Yeah, you know, the respect was always there, the friendship, because we were both Disney kids and stuff like that, but the friendship really developed after Kim Possible. You know, we started Kim Possible like Boy Meets World and other Disney shows. Disney shows are great at this, kind of giving their shows a second life, whether it was on ABC Family or Disney Channel or something like that, and it happened with Kim Possible. And I remember one time we went to, it was such a cool trip. They said, you want to do the Disney Awards, the Disney Kids Awards in London. And you and Christy will host it, and it'll be on the stage at the Royal Albert Hall. We were like, yes, please, let's do that. And so we hung out in London for a while, and it was like we got to know each other there, and then I'm good friends with her husband. And so we just kind of started talking about certain things, and then the conventions kind of brought us back together and talking about certain things, and then we just realized we liked each other. So we have kind of a brother-sister thing going on, and it works, and we have a good rapport. We like making fun of each other during the show, stuff like that, and people like it. So it just kind of it blended from just working together to actually being friends. Because you know, in this industry, you often meet people you like and you hang out with while you're working, and then you never kind of see them again. But I've been lucky through Boy Meets World, especially Boy Meets World with Danielle and Ryder, are 2 of my best friends in the world, and Christy's another one. So it's you do make some friendships in this industry that last, which is nice.
So you mentioned that like a lot of the people that you've had on your podcast haven't didn't grow up wanting to be voice actors. Is there a story where you're like, how did you trip into voice acting? Like, is there
Sure.
one that's so crazy?
We ask everybody how you do that, and one of my favorite stories is Roger Craig Smith. So Roger is obviously Captain America and has done everything. He was a stand-up comedian, is where he started, and he said one day after being in a stand-up at this same place for years and years and years, they were finally bringing in a professional agent who was going to watch all their sets and was going to give them notes on what they should do. And he said, we did our sets, and we're all standing there, and she was going down the line of the people, and she got to Roger, and she said, Roger, the voices you do are really fun. Have you thought of doing that for a living? And he went, what about the comedy? And she went, I think it's the voices. And so he said, from that moment on, I realized I was not a stand-up comedian, and I became a voiceover actor, and he's been okay. And all the billions of shows he's been doing. So what is that? Oh my, you just shut off the lights in some really old lady's house.
That's how we end the blackjack table.
Oh.